Hey everybody, welcome back to I Know a Guy. Today we're meeting with Len Bruskiewitz. He's a self-employed business coach, certified exit planning advisor, and he's been doing it for 2 years. How you doing today, Len?
Great, great. Good to see you, Anthony.
Yeah, good to see you again too. I know we've met a couple times. I always like meeting with you. Where are you calling in from? Where are you located?
I am on the outskirts of Boston, about 30 miles northwest of downtown Boston.
Gotcha. Are you from the area originally, or did you move there later?
I'm not. I've been a bit of a traveler. I grew up in Milwaukee and then moved to Boston for college, and then after that, spent some time in California, both southern and northern, and then 2 years in Europe. So I was in Munich for a year, London for a year, which was a great experience, and then back to Boston, and I've been here ever since.
Okay. How does Boston rank amongst all the places that you've been?
I love it. It's probably one of my favorites. I really enjoyed Munich as well, but not speaking German very well was a bit of a challenge. So I love Boston because of the seasons, because of the history, and just there's a ton of stuff to do around here.
Yeah. Well, what's the one thing? Because I've never been to Boston. I go up there. What's the one thing you recommend that somebody like me does?
Well, I'm gonna give you two things.
Okay.
So the first is it sounds touristy, but the Freedom Trail is just an amazing experience. So it's a walking trail through a lot of the historic sites of Boston. It's a pretty good walk, but you see a ton of the history of the city. So that's one thing I would absolutely recommend everybody do. The other is to visit the North Shore of Boston. There are a string of cities or towns, Salem, Gloucester, Marblehead, just really cool old towns, great seafood if you're into that. So those are the two things I would definitely put on my schedule to when you visit out here.
Do you ever go to Salem this time of the year when it's all probably done up?
It's crazy. It's kind of crazy year round, but especially around this time of year, there's a lot of Halloween and witch related activities going on. It's fun.
Yeah, I imagine so. I thought about going, but I was like, I might go in the off season because I don't want to be in that crowd. So
No, there's still, like I said, there's still plenty to do year round, so you can visit anytime.
okay, awesome. Well, what can you tell us about what you do?
Yeah, so I focus my business coaching practice on helping business owners, primarily those who are age 55 and up, but really any business owner. I help them get their company ready so that they can transition out of it on their terms and on their timeline. So you call that exit planning, right? And the reason I focus on this is that most business owners don't have an exit plan. And that's really kind of a scary thing because I'll share, just a stat or two with you. 50% of the companies in the US transition hands involuntarily through death, disability, divorce, disagreements, distress. And if you don't have a plan, it can be really traumatic, not just to you, the business owner, but to your family, your customers, your employees, and your community. So that's why I'm really passionate about helping business owners in this area.
Yeah, that'd be awful. You work your entire life to build something up, and then it's sorry, you failed the plan. What's the thing? You fail a plan,
Exactly.
you plan to fail. So yeah, definitely want to plan start to finish. Okay, so how'd you get started in this? You said you've been doing it for 2 years. What kind of piqued your interest and got you going in this direction?
Yeah, so I started out just kind of generically business coaching, just helping businesses kind of get unstuck from where they were. And I had one of my first clients was a 72-year-old woman who had started a very successful retail store with her husband over 50 years ago, was involved in the business. They ran it together, and unfortunately, he passed away. And as much as she was involved in the business, she really didn't have a good sense for where it was going to go. And so much so that she said, I can't sleep at night. And so we worked together through a bunch of different options. You could do this, you could do that. And she finally made a decision that she wanted to keep it in the family. So worked on a succession plan, an inter-family succession plan, and is now implementing that plan. And after we were done, she said, Len, I can sleep at night. And I said, wow, that really hit me. And I started to do some research about the area and realized that there are millions of businesses in the U.S. in this same situation with older business owners. And so that's where I said, I think I found my why, and that's what I focus on now.
What can you tell us a little bit more about that? How important is it, if somebody they're like, oh, I'm just gonna leave it to my kids. How important is it to have that succession plan?
Yeah, crucial. So one of the biggest pieces is from a survey of about 20,000 business owners, 50% of them said their plan was to hand the business to their kids. Uh, the data says that only happens 30% of the time. So there's this 20% gap of I'm just going to call them the parents thinking the kids are taking over and the kids have no interest in it, right? So that's caused by a huge lack of communication. So that's one of the big things. If you are planning as a business owner to pass it to a kid or a family member, have those conversations really early on because otherwise, um, what's terrifying, and again, this is the data that comes out, is about 80% of the financial assets of a business owner, regardless of age, are tied up in their business. So not having a plan uh, can be really traumatic for whatever that business owner wants to do next, right? That could be retire, start a new business, do whatever. They got to figure out a way to successfully make that business capable of being sold or passed on to somebody else. So that's why it's really important. And it goes well beyond just you as the business owner.
Okay. Yeah, that's noble. It sounds awesome. You're saving people years and years of work, blood, sweat, tears, the pride all put into this thing, and then this fumble at the end. So, what would you say your favorite thing is about what you're doing?
I think my favorite thing is once you start the process of putting a plan together, one of the crucial things I help business owners do is get independence from their business. So I'll tell you a quick story of a friend of mine. I play hockey with him, and he runs a very successful business, but he is absolutely involved in every aspect of the business. He has team members, but he makes every key decision. And so I say, when you go on vacation, what happens? And he says, well, I'm still managing the schedule. I'm still dealing with all the issues. And he is too dependent. His business is too dependent on him. So I've told him, I said, you can't sell your business today. You need to get that independence. So what's really cool about what I do is working with business owners to get that independence so that now they can take a vacation. They're not stressed out, they're not burned out. And what can happen, which is actually a great result, is they say, I don't want to sell a business anymore. I'm having the time of my life. I'm making more money. I've got more time to myself. I feel, I don't feel the stress that I used to. So that's the biggest benefit, or that's the biggest thing I get out of it, is just seeing this huge reduction in stress in the business owner's life, and that they enjoy running their business again.
Yeah, I like that. You're giving them options, you're giving a plan, you're giving them freedom. That like I said before, that's a noble thing. So what would you do different? You've been doing this for 2 years. I imagine there's, you've learned some things that you do a little different than when you started. What does that look like?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing that I've learned over this time is everybody has their own plan, right? They may just have it in their head, or they may not have thought a lot about it. But the biggest thing I've learned is that getting business owners to kind of understand that this is beyond important and it's an urgent thing for them to deal with. So I think when I initially started, I would say, oh, great, yeah, let's talk again in 6 months, or let's talk again in a year. That would be them telling me that. And I'm starting to realize that, you know, bad stuff can happen in that intervening period. Typically, things aren't getting less stressful. So it's really just having business owners, even if they don't want to work with me, that's fine. I just want them to start thinking about some of these key decisions that they need to make sure their business is valuable going forward and is going to maintain their legacy. So, just I'd say not conveying enough that this is something that's urgent for them to deal with.
Okay. So if you're talking directly to a business owner, what's a couple of the pain points you're asking them to make sure that, hey, this is something that you should be considering now instead of backburnering it?
Yeah. So one of the big things I talk to business owners about is make sure that your financial records are in order. Get your accounting straightened out. if you want to sell the business and your accounting is in disarray, there's nothing happening there, right? So that, in addition to getting your books in order, it's also understanding what drives your business. So that's a big piece, is know what your metrics are that really drive your business. And then the other thing I would say is start to focus, like focus on the things you're really good at. And that may be letting some customers go that maybe you're losing money on, or that are just more trouble than they're worth, right? The other thing I would talk about is, what is their personal plan? What are they going to do after? So that's something that I don't get a lot involved with a lot, but is a really important piece. Like, what are you going to do next? What do you want to do next? And right aligned with that is, how much money do you need out of the business to do that, right? So they start to think about taxes and think about trusts, and what, what all that involves. So those are the things that I would encourage people to really get started on right now. And then the final piece is that independence piece. So even if you can't afford to hire a team of 10 people, start to document the stuff that you do in your business so that somebody else can take it over at some point in time.
Okay. I got you. So on the networking side, what's a good power partner for you? If somebody's watching this, that may be a good source of referrals back and forth.
Yeah, so there's a really tight knit team that most business owners need to work with beyond just me, and that's accountants, lawyers, financial planners, potentially life coaches, right? So that what's next,
Mhm.
estate planners. Those are really the people that are the tight knit team, and there are others involved along the way. There might be marketing people, there might be all kinds of other folks, but that core team is really accountant, lawyer, um, financial planner, estate planner. And what I'd say is, sometimes the maybe the bookkeeper, the accountant you're working with today might not be the right one going forward. So it may be a different resource that is the business owner you need to bring on.
Okay. Is there anything that I missed, that I failed to ask, that you kind of wanted to touch on?
You did a great job of getting at some of the key points. I think the one thing I would just say, as a something to keep in mind for any of the business owners out there, is, you know an exit plan is really a business plan. So, start to think about what you want your business to be down the road. There are resources out there, and so, take some sense of urgency and start to think about these things. It can feel confusing and complicated. But you don't need to do it all at once. Just start. So there are places to learn, and I'm happy to share, some of those educational resources with your viewers.
Okay. How can people get a hold of you for that?
Yeah, best way is my website, which is greaterheightscoaching.com. That's probably the easiest way. I have a neat little free tool on there that's a business valuation calculator. It gives you a really quick sense of what your business is worth. And it also gives you a sense of how ready your business is, and what some of the things are you can do to get it more ready. So that's a great place to start. My other contact information in there, my Calendly and everything else, is listed on there as well.
Okay. Is that how you like potential power partners reaching out to you too, is through your website?
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. Well, I'll be sure to share that in the description and everything. But perfect. If anybody wants to get in touch with Lynn, and I highly recommend it if you're a business owner, to at least, do that free bit on his website, have a conversation with them. Absolutely recommend it. Like you said, this is a business plan. If you're not planning for the future, well, what are you doing? So, but if anybody out there is a little shy, feel free to ask me. I'll be happy to make that introduction for you. But if anybody else out there would like to be interviewed, you can reach out to me on X at I know a guy _. But Lynn, thanks for your time. I hope you have an awesome day, and let's all get out there and meet some people. All right.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
All right, you take care.
All right.